Final piece tonight. Get your pondering heads on. We have mentioned about bots several times in this show, and I thought a piece on it explaining how it's all possible was due. Bot 1. Mechanical entities. And that was covered in the movie Extinction. Did they know they were not humans? No. How could anybody possibly know? How can it be achieved? Can you give birth to one? Well, you cannot give birth to one, that is a certainty. But they can be grown with organic body parts or even a 3D printer technology that is way more advanced than most people think possible. But what is rarely known amongst the populace, although it has been referenced in this show, is the number of babies that are switched in hospitals. It's an uncomfortable truth, and it happens on a far wider scale than has been reported. And in reality, no one can prove you came from your parents. Yes, they say scientific data or DNA can prove it, but we have found out in the past 18 months just how corrupt the establishment's scientific data is. Are you saying, Thomas, I may not be born by my parents? Well, that is a question not one of us can answer. We can only assume we are. Assumption, like logic, is not born in fact, though, is it? And these type of bots are essentially skin suits with mechanical parts to animate the vessel. Is there precedence for this? Yes. One or more versions of the Greys meddled too much with their genetics and could no longer produce their own live offspring. So they became uploaded consciousness into created vessels just to keep their species going. Now, this was referenced by the P45 and P52 races, warning us not to meddle too much with genetics. And clown elites know this all too well. Now, this was also covered in the Stargate series as well. Bot 2. Clones. Not much has been written by many in this field, although Donald Marshall has covered it quite a bit, and some of his material leaves much truth out, in my opinion, and so you are left picking through the bones of it. But cloning centres are real though, and some have been removed due to exposure, and much was reduced since the Peace Treaty of 2016. Now, much of this technology, if not all, came from our engagement with other beings from afar, although some have been here for a long time. But like all technology, it is long in the past. Future technology is only released when it can be weaponized. And after billions of years of development, there is no new technology, only ways to do things better. Now, cloning is a product of collecting your DNA. Hello, Ancestry.com. Hello, 23andMe. And then growing people in their likeness. Does that sound familiar? We will make them in our own image, springs to mind. But nobody asks, who is R? And these clones are grown in vast underground labs, attended to by rogue military, CIA, and SSP. And for examples of this, see the movie Fire in the Sky and the series The Event. But there is another more common known aspect to this that has been in the public's eye for at least 40 years, yet we never connected the dots to it. Well, we will now. They are test tube babies. It's the same concept, but several questions arise from it, and yet there is little to no follow-up studies on this topic, which is curious and perhaps sinister in and of itself. But one of the few who is studying IVF children, Carmen Sapienza, who is a geneticist at Temple University School of Medicine in Philadelphia, is attempting to identify epigenetic differences among them. Epigenetic are changes in gene expression caused by molecular mechanisms other than mutations in the DNA sequence itself. And he is particularly interested in a chromosomal modification called DNA methylation. And he found that 5 to 10% of these chromosome modifications were different in children born through assisted reproduction, and this altered the expression of nearby genes. Several of the genes whose expression differed between the two groups have been implicated in chronic metabolic disorders such as obesity and type 2 diabetes. Does that sound familiar? It should be, because one suspects that those IVF studies played some part in the techno-jabs of today. Where is the range of follow-up studies on this subject? Why and what are they hiding? Are these soulless entities? Can test tube babies have a soul? And why would Source send a soul into what is essentially an inorganic creation? Are all questions that need to be answered. Bot 3, synthetics, which can also use clones that have defects. And part of our problem is we don't see enough or generate enough data to process of what we are actually seeing, and resort to thought type provided by the system for us to understand or make sense of things. Most anomalies are dismissed, and we create ridiculous excuses to avoid the unexpected or unexplained details of what we have seen, heard or felt. Now, a synthetic is a skin suit that can cover the head and neck, hello Biden, and head and chest for females, or a full body suit that to all intents and purposes is the person they are representing. But there will be subtle differences, and that is where the people miss things or notice the difference and dismiss it. A recent video of Biden is clear when he had the black suit and white shirt done on MSNBC last week. It's clear it's a head stuck on a fixed suit. You can see the glitches in the graphics, where his neck is rolling over his shirt. No. But remember again, Synthetics are likely created using a 3D printing machine. And remember, when we were promised those machines, and like all others said to be beneficial, it is denied. But not for rogue purposes, it seems. And remember again, all technology is not new. And all technology will not be released to the public unless they can weaponize it, or unless we remove they. And once people grasp those realities, then things make much more sense, and you can save time on the internet not waiting for medbeds, which resemble sleeping pods of the past, healing machines when you are the healing machine. 3D printers will never be given to the public whilst the shekel people are around. It's that simple. Plus, the 3D printer is anti-creativity and anti-human. Humanity will lose its key ability to be creative. And a 3D printer would enhance a bad human trait of laziness also. Laziness is not just in terms of work, although there are many who refuse that, but laziness to learn, think, act, deal with their inner and shadow work. All aspects of why humanity has always asked for the saviour programs by being too lazy to do it for themselves. Now we at THI and TPC are changing that past failure, and it is a key component for true soul development, which leads us into our next category. Bot 4. Hive-minded bots. And this is born out of indoctrination. Repeat after me. Don't question anything, and we are your authority or new parents to tell you what to do, how to think, and how to live your life. And essentially these are organic people operating like an insect, which may be indicative from where it was taught from. After all, they do call the internet a web. Now, inter means between, among, or in the midst. And so internet means between, amongst, or in the midst of the net, trapped like a fish. But inter, when pronounced differently as inter, means to deposit a dead body in the earth or in a tomb. Remember, we are all classed as dead because of our capital letters for our trade name, so the dead people still living, although not recognizing as such, are placed into the net, and the net was to be your tomb. Now, the internet has not worked as planned for the old system, as creative people used it against them. And like the children they are, they tried to censor or ban content not approved by the overlords. And far too many people have adopted this bot level based on a bad trait of humanity, the ability to be lazy. Lazy working. But worse, lazy-minded. And it has been along with seducement, has been our biggest downfall over time. Working and thinking are subconsciously food for the soul and development. Without work and creativity, you become a subversion of a bot, allowing others to do and or think for you. And this version of the bot is a complete waste of a life cycle. It has zero development, is service to self only, service to authority, which is essentially a saviour program, and essentially born to remain a child no matter what age they are. Bot 5. The hybrids. Again, this is a sensitive topic and it brings up many questions, often personal, of could I be a hybrid? The answer is yes. That is always a possibility. It could be a slim possibility, but nonetheless it is a possibility. So how is that possible? Well, the ET from the Aztec crash told the story of him dropping off children to this planet. When asked, are they human? His answer was, depends on your definition of human. How many of these children were dropped off? Where are they? Are they amongst us or used as lab rats? What was the purpose of it? Is it genetic seeding of a different race of beings as part of a claim system on humanity or this planet? All good questions that need answers. Tesla was one of them, and we know little of how many more who came here. Now, having been the first show to reveal in detail the partial details made available from the Majestic 12 document, I'm requesting full access here and now out into the ether to the remaining portions of the interviews that took place with that ET over a period of 8 months back in 1948. Humanity has the right to know, and I hereby request access to that information to disperse to humanity. We are entitled to know just who or what we are, where we came from. Why are we here now? To be able to grasp, understand, process and heal the wounded parts to go forward with greater clarity and from a position of full knowledge. Grant me the opportunity to do that for us all. Whether you are a hybrid or not, it doesn't matter what you are. Organic human, Draco, Abraxan, Raptor, crocodile race. It is how you conduct yourself. Act yourself. Are you service to self or others? Do you have balance? And are you being the best version of you? Are you being cooperative? Are you being nice, caring, sharing and loving? Are you operating with personal responsibility under the golden rule? Because at the end of the day, that's really all what counts. Ask yourself, are you all of those things to the best of your ability? If not, correct it should you desire. That then is your own goal and improvements. Should you not desire them, you always have the option to fit in with category 4, the hive-minded bots. Recently there has been much talk of booster jabs. What is boosting? Too few ask. The hive-minded bots assume they are boosting their immune system. Yet taking the first jab eroded your immune system by 15%. Taking the second jab eroded it by 35%. How much further will it compromise your own immune system by adding a booster? But let's look at the word boost, shall we? Because if you take the third and fourth letters out of that word, you are left with bot. An OS means an operating system, which is exactly what Bill Gates told us this delivery system known as an mRNA is an operating system. We exposed the gain of function last year, and that was their money maker also. Gain of function is the euphemism for biological research aimed at increasing the virulence and lethality of pathogens and viruses. Oops. Gain of function research is government funding. Its focus is on enhancing the pathogen's ability to infect different species and to increase their deadly impact as airborne pathogens and viruses. Its focus is on enhancing the pathogen's ability to infect different species and to increase their deadly impact, infect different species. Does that make more sense now? Infect different species. Oh my. So a boost is an operating system for bots. At the end of the day, it is not who or what you are, whether human, humanoid, reptile, ant, mantid. If you are of a species capable of intelligence, the issue is how you be and how you act. We will always have differences, but the key to it now is, it is how you and we can come together and correct difference and develop a world, a solar system, a galaxy one by one in a better way for us all. It requires real leaders. Real leaders don't force people to follow. They invite them on a journey. Our journey is going real well. Never forget that in a world of madness and total insanity.